Thank you so much for taking the time to join me as I share something incredibly personal. Welcome to this moment, a time where I'm inviting you to step into a chapter of my life that forever transformed me. I'm Nina, and my story is one of those rare moments in life that you can never predict. What I'm about to tell you altered the very course of my existence. This experience wasn't just a random occurrence or a fleeting brush with something larger than myself. It was a profound event that fundamentally changed the way I see the world and my place in it. If you had told me years ago that I would be standing here, sharing this story about my near-death experience and the strange, surreal encounter with something I can only describe as divine, I would have probably laughed. I never considered myself special, nor did I ever believe that such extraordinary events were destined for people like me. But sometimes, life has a way of opening doors when you least expect it, revealing things that we're not always ready for. This experience, though, it's something I was meant to go through, and sharing it with you feels like part of the journey. It all began on an afternoon that seemed as ordinary as any other. The day was unfolding just as any other would. Quiet, calm, routine. But then, without warning, something changed. I was going about my day when an excruciating pain suddenly gripped my chest. At first, I thought it was just a little discomfort, perhaps stress or something I could brush off. But then the pain intensified and I found myself gasping for air. It wasn't like anything I'd ever felt before. A sense of urgency filled the air around me, and every second felt like it was pulling me deeper into something I couldn't escape from. I tried to steady myself, but my legs buckled beneath me, and I collapsed to the ground. Everything blurred around me, the room spinning, my vision narrowing. I couldn't focus on anything, not even my own body. My heart raced, and the world around me seemed to dissolve into nothingness. I was fading, slipping away, and I knew it. The pain was overwhelming, but there was something else. The stark realization that I was on the edge of something monumental. I was losing myself to whatever was happening, and it felt like I was being drawn into a vast space that existed beyond the confines of the physical world. And then, in that split second between life and death, something extraordinary happened. It was like the world around me melted away entirely. The cacophony of my thoughts, the pain, the fear, all of it ceased to exist. Instead, I found myself in a place of profound peace. There were no words, no sounds, just a sense of calm that I had never known. It was a place where time seemed irrelevant. I wasn't even sure if I was still in my body or if I had transcended into something else entirely. But whatever it was not frightening. It was peaceful, even comforting. For the first time in my life, I didn't feel lost. I felt embraced by something so much larger than myself. In that vast emptiness, I became aware of a presence, an energy that surrounded me. It wasn't a physical presence, yet it was undeniable. It felt like I was being watched over, cared for, as if I was held in the hands of something far greater. It wasn't a feeling of being alone, quite the opposite, in fact. I felt this overwhelming sense that I was meant to be here at this very moment. It wasn't my time yet. There was something I was supposed to learn, something I needed to experience. And just as I was trying to process these feelings, he appeared. Jesus. There was no grand revelation, no shining trumpet or dramatic scene. He simply was, present in a way that made everything else seem irrelevant. The light that radiated from him was indescribable. It wasn't harsh or blinding. It was soft, warm, and comforting. The kind of light that could reach deep into your soul and make you feel whole. And his presence was even more powerful. It wasn't intimidating or overwhelming. It was reassuring, gentle. His eyes, full of compassion and understanding, locked onto mine, and in that instant I felt as though he could see every part of me. There was no hiding, no pretending. He saw me for who I truly was. He didn't speak right away, but when he did, his voice was soft yet carried an authority that echoed deep within me. "Nina," he said, his voice so calm yet full of meaning. "Do not be afraid. You are here for a reason. You are still here because you have a mission to fulfill, a task to complete, and that is why you are standing at this crossroads now." His words resonated within me in a way I can't fully explain. I wasn't sure what mission he was referring to, what purpose I was meant to serve, but in that moment I felt the weight of his message. There was something bigger than my current life, something that I had yet to understand, but I could feel it pulling me. I wasn't just existing, I was meant for something significant. And then he said something that would haunt me and guide me forever. "Nina," he said, his gaze never leaving mine, "you bear a mark, the M mark." The word stopped me in my tracks. What was this mark? I had never heard of it before, not in a personal sense. I had heard vague rumors about symbols and signs, but this felt different. It was too real, too tangible for me to dismiss it as some fanciful idea. There was truth to this, something so deep and meaningful that I could feel it in my very being. This mark wasn't just a symbol, it was a sign that I had been chosen. But for what? What was I chosen for? "The M mark represents a calling," he continued, his voice steady and full of purpose. "It signifies that you are meant to do something far greater than you can currently imagine. You have been selected, and it is time for you to fulfill your purpose." I stood there, speechless, completely overwhelmed by the magnitude of his words. This mark, this mysterious M mark, had suddenly become the center of everything. I had always wondered if there was a greater purpose to my life, but I never expected something so profound to be tied to a simple mark. I glanced at my hand, the left palm where he had gestured, and there it was, the faintest M shape engraved into my skin. It wasn't like any birthmark I had seen. It didn't feel like a scar. It was as though a divine hand had placed it there, intentionally and with great care. His gaze followed mine, and he asked, "Do you see it?" I nodded, almost in a daze. "Yes, I see it." "This mark is a sign," he explained gently, "a reminder that you have been chosen. It is a key to understanding the purpose of your life. It is a symbol of divine purpose, of responsibility, and of a journey you are meant to undertake." I could feel his words like a seed being planted deep within me. But the seed was heavy. The weight of what I was hearing pressed down on me, not with fear, but with a sense of duty. I didn't know how or when this mission would unfold, but I could sense the magnitude of it. I wasn't just here by accident. There was something I was meant to do, and this mark was part of the plan. I was part of the plan. He continued, his voice unwavering. "The M mark represents more than just a symbol. It is a key to the knowledge that will be revealed to you in time. You will face trials and challenges, but you must have faith. Trust that you will know what to do when the time comes." His words were like a beacon in the fog of my confusion. I felt a strange peace settle over me, not because everything was clear, but because I knew I wasn't alone in this. I wasn't meant to walk this path alone. I had a guide, a purpose, and a strength that would carry me through whatever lay ahead. As he spoke, his presence seemed to grow even more powerful. It was as if his very being was woven into the fabric of my existence, holding me up and grounding me in the truth of what was unfolding. I wasn't just hearing words. I was feeling them, experiencing them with every fiber of my being. The weight of his message pressed deeper into my heart, and as he spoke, the world around me seemed to fade again, just slightly. "Remember, Naina," he said softly, his voice still echoing in my soul, "the M mark is not a burden, it is a blessing. You have been chosen for something great, and this mark is the reminder of your purpose. You are not alone." With those final words, his presence began to dissipate, fading away like the last remnants of a dream. But his message remained, clear and unshakable. The pain in my chest returned to my awareness, as though pulling me back to my body, back to reality. The world around me sharpened into focus again. I was lying on the floor, gasping for air, still trembling from the experience. But the fear was gone. The pain was still there, but it no longer felt as overwhelming as it had. I was alive, and I knew I had been given a second chance, a chance to fulfill the mission I had been chosen for. In the days that followed, I couldn't stop thinking about the M mark. What did it mean? How would this purpose unfold in my life? I didn't have all the answers, but I knew that this was just the beginning of something much larger. The mark, once a simple symbol, was now my compass, a reminder of the path I was meant to follow. And so, I set out on my journey, knowing that my life would never be the same. The M mark had given me a sense of direction, a calling, and the strength to face whatever challenges lay ahead. For the first time in my life, I felt ready to fulfill the purpose I had been given. Thank you for letting me share this with you. I hope that wherever you are in your own journey, you know that you are not alone. Like me, you may find yourself at the crossroads of something bigger than you can imagine. And when you do, remember, there is always a guide, always a purpose, and always a divine hand at work. You are part of something greater, just as I am. The M on my hand seemed to glow faintly, as if it were not simply a mark, but a presence that was alive in its own quiet, subtle way. When I moved my hand through the light, the glow seemed to shift with it, almost as if the mark were reacting to the world around me. For a brief instant, I could have sworn I saw something deeper within it, a fleeting glimpse of something far beyond this world, something that existed outside the limits of human understanding, something transcendent. It was so brief, so imperceptible that I couldn't quite be sure if it was my imagination or if it was something real, but the feeling it left in me was undeniable. There was a sense that this mark, this simple symbol, held something much bigger, something far more profound than I had ever imagined. In the days that followed, I began to notice things I hadn't before. Little details, small events, and unexpected encounters all began to seem significant, connected in some strange and unexplainable way to the M mark. It wasn't just a mark on my skin anymore. It felt as if it had become a symbol of something greater, something that tied me to a larger divine plan that was unfolding all around me. People I met, conversations I had, even brief encounters that seemed completely random, all began to feel like they were part of a much bigger puzzle, one that I was just beginning to piece together. It was as if I had started to see the world through a different lens, one where everything, no matter how small, had meaning, and everything was somehow connected. At first, these connections were subtle, almost too faint to notice, as though they were whispers from the universe, barely audible. But over time, the more I paid attention, the clearer it became that there was something undeniably purposeful about everything that was happening. Every conversation, every meeting, every event that transpired, it all felt like part of a larger design, a design that was beyond my understanding but felt deeply important. I began to feel as if the M mark was not just something physical, but a key that unlocked a deeper understanding of life itself. It was as if the mark had given me access to a hidden layer of existence, where nothing was random and every moment had purpose. It became clear to me that life was not a series of disconnected events, but an intricate tapestry where every thread, every experience, was intentionally woven together to form a greater whole. The more I reflected on it, the more I realized that the M mark was not just a personal symbol, but a reminder, a sign that everything in my life and the lives of those around me was part of a much bigger plan. It wasn't just about me. It was about the divine purpose that was unfolding through me, through the people I met, through the choices I made, and through the experiences I went through. I had always believed in some form of fate, some invisible force guiding us, but the M mark made that belief feel more real, more tangible. It was as if the mark was showing me the truth, that there is a plan, a divine blueprint, and that I was an active participant in it. I wasn't just a bystander in my own life. I was a part of something far greater, something much more intricate and intentional than I had ever imagined. As this awareness grew, I started to see my life differently. I no longer saw myself as an isolated individual trying to make sense of a chaotic and uncertain world. Instead, I began to understand that I was a small but essential piece of a much larger puzzle. My life, my experiences, my struggles, my joys, they all had meaning, and they all fit into a greater narrative that was unfolding before me. Every event, no matter how small, was part of a story that was bigger than I could fully understand, but one that I was meant to be a part of. The M mark was a reminder of that, a constant symbol that reminded me that my life had purpose, that there was a plan, and that everything was happening for a reason. The more I meditated on this new understanding, the more I came to realize that my near-death experience had been the catalyst for this transformation. Before that moment, I had been living my life in a somewhat passive way, merely going through the motions, trying to make sense of things, but never truly understanding the depth of the interconnectedness of all things. That brush with death had shaken me to my core, forcing me to reevaluate everything. It had been the moment when I had truly realized that life is fragile, that time is precious, and that every breath, every moment counts. But it has also opened my eyes to a greater truth, that there is something beyond this world, something divine that guides us, something that connects all things. The M mark, I now understood, was a symbol of that connection, a sign that I was part of a larger divine plan, and that I was being guided along a path that had been set for me long before I was born. I started to see that my near-death experience wasn't just a random event. It wasn't a tragedy narrowly avoided. It was a turning point, a gift. It was as if the universe had shaken me awake, showing me that there was something far greater than I had realized. I wasn't just a person stumbling through life trying to make sense of it all. I was a part of something divine, something that was unfolding in ways I couldn't yet fully understand. The M mark had been there all along, a symbol of my connection to this greater reality, a reminder that I was not alone on this journey. I was being guided, step by step, towards something bigger, something more meaningful. As I continued to reflect on this, I came to realize that the M mark was not just a symbol of fate, but a sign of divine favor. It was a mark that showed that I was walking the path I was always meant to walk, a path that had been laid out for me long before I was born. The more I embraced this truth, the more I began to feel a deep sense of peace. Even though I didn't understand everything, I knew that I was exactly where I was meant to be. The trials, the challenges, and the obstacles that lay ahead no longer seemed like insurmountable barriers. Instead, they felt like opportunities for growth, for learning, for becoming more fully who I was meant to be. With the M mark as my guide and Jesus by my side, I knew that I had everything I needed to face whatever lay ahead. The future no longer filled me with fear or uncertainty. What had once been a source of anxiety now became a source of strength. The unknown wasn't something to be afraid of anymore. It was something to embrace. The future was not some random, chaotic force that I had no control over. It was part of the divine plan, a plan that had been set in motion long before I was born. I didn't need to know every detail of what was to come. I didn't need to have all the answers. What I needed was faith. Faith that the path was already laid out before me. Faith that I was being guided by something far greater than myself. As I continue on this journey, I know that there will be challenges, moments of doubt, and times when I question the purpose of it all. But I also know that I am not alone. With the M mark as my guide and Jesus by my side, I know that I am walking the path I was always meant to walk. No matter what comes my way, I trust that I will be able to handle it because I am not walking this road alone. The M mark is a light that shines ahead of me, illuminating the way, showing me that I am part of something much bigger than myself, something that is unfolding in ways I cannot yet fully understand, but that I know is leading me towards something greater. Wherever this journey takes me, I know that I am ready to face it because I have faith in the path, faith in the light, and faith in the divine plan that is guiding me.